Hello everyone, Kurt Klein here with Hallmark University, going over Don Yacobucci's Marketing Management 5th edition for Business 5332 Marketing Management. Today we're going to cover Chapter 12, Integrated Marketing, Communications, and Media Choices. And that's going to fall under the 4 Ps under promotion. Our managerial checklist today is what media decisions are made in promotional campaigns. What is integrated marketing communications, IMC, we talked about that in the previous chapter, Chapter 11. And how is the effectiveness of advertising media measured? I would think that last one is if sales have gone through the roof, then we've measured it pretty well, right? So let's continue. Discussion question number 1. Name all the media in which you have seen Kentucky Fried Chicken promoted. Why do you think these media were chosen? PPE immediately comes to mind. I think we've gotten coupons for them, so that would be mail. I don't think I've gotten any emails. Thank goodness I'm not on their email list. What else? Radio? Maybe. Do they have any jingles? Not that I can remember. I've seen all kinds of print advertisement. I remember the Colonel, pictures of the Colonel back in the day. I think they were chosen because that hits their market, right? The simple stuff. Keep it simple. What's your market? Kentucky Fried Chicken does not strike me as an upper echelon restaurant as far as restaurants are concerned. If you gave me an option between Kentucky Fried Chicken and Perry's Steakhouse, I'm going to Perry's. So, but if I'm more on a budget, then I'm probably going to go KFC, right? So why do you think these media were chosen? The local paper, radio, television, those all, and then, mailers of certain sorts, those are all free. I don't have to do anything. So that would be the pull approach on the channels, right? Not the push. So they're enticing you to come out and patronize them. So that's where I've seen them. I think that's why they chose them too. It's a little bit easier to get to the masses, mass marketing. What media decisions are made? How much do we spend? That's a big question. In building my distillery, a lot of my investors' concern was marketing. Kurt, we've got to have marketing on point, marketing. We've got an amazing product, and one of my investors was like, yeah, but what's the marketing? And we went round and round and round. Finally, I asked him, I said, how much do you want to spend on marketing? And he goes, whatever you think. So he's at least aware that marketing has to happen, but the question is, how much do we spend? We're a startup. We're going to spend as much as we can to get the most bang for our buck to get us to be at least a break-even company. So we don't know what that looks like just yet, and it's kind of scary because nobody's going to share their numbers with us, right? What is the schedule of expenditure? Do we just pump all this into it, or do we do it on an annual or a monthly or a biannual or a semi-monthly type of approach? Which media do we use as channels of our communications? Where will we find our customers? I think we're going to find a lot of our customers online, to be perfectly honest, and I think that's how we're going to get into their houses very inexpensively. Online, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Let's start with how much to spend. Percentage of sales. Percentage is determined by prior year's sales or industry norms. Like I had mentioned with the distillery, there's no real numbers, and they're very tight-lipped. While they're all very helpful in helping you figure out certain aspects of the business, that particular industry, that vertical, everybody's pretty tight-lipped. They're not going to tell you. So you're going to kind of have to feel it out there. Percentage is then adjusted depending upon this year's goals. So if we know that last year we spent 10% of our sales and it yielded us a 10% profit, and we're hoping for a 20% profit, it doesn't necessarily mean causative relationship. It could be correlation instead, where maybe it's only 15% of our sales to get that 20% profit, right? So we don't necessarily need to match dollar for dollar in that instance. So how much to spend? Slide 2 of 3. Competitive parity. Determine what competitors are spending. If I'm going to go after Tito's, then, oh my gosh, he's got like $100 million marketing budget. So we're going to have to wait for a while before we build that. In some industries, ad spending is proportional to income. So Volkswagen, 418 million spent. Honda, 700 million spent. Ford, $2 billion spent on advertising. Think about that. Toyota, $2.9 billion spent. GM, $3.4 billion spent. So when we look at the share, you know, Honda and up is 10 to 20%. That's a lot, right? So strategic advertising goal, set a strategic goal, awareness, attitude, change, etc., and then work backward to determine how much you should spend to reach your goal. Advertising is viewed as an investment that will return sales and profits. So need to understand the reach and the frequency. And you've got to have action items in your advertising. Otherwise, you're kind of in big trouble, right? So reach, frequency, and GRPs. So reach, the share of your target that has seen your ad at least once. Frequency, the average number of times targets saw the ad within the set duration. So GRPs equals reach times frequency. So the ad reached 25% of the target on average of 3 times the ad delivered 75 GRPs. So let's see here. So for reach, the goal is to expose as many of the target customers as possible. Find the most cost-efficient media. Social media seems to be really, really cost-efficient. I've noticed that radio seems to be really cost-efficient too, so it's kind of a coin toss. I think there's still more people on social media, but it depends on your market. In New Braunfels, KNBT 92.1 is the powerhouse in the town. I would say easily 50-60% of the town listens to that particular station. So we can hit 50-60% of the population just by being on the radio there. Frequency depends on the goal, awareness, and memory. A few exposures. Persuasion may take more, right? Readily understood your ads. That kind of wears out quickly. So you got to make them think a little bit, let them process, get that critical thought process in the head, and then they're good to go because they'll keep it in their minds. So when to schedule? It costs more to get higher ratings. So however, the relationship's not perfect. So primetime ratings, if you're looking to get an ad with Sunday Night Football, that's like $700,000 an ad. If you're looking to get an ad on Gotham, that's like $200,000. So Big Bang Theory, about $350,000, right? Blacklist, about $300,000. So depending on the primetime rating, it's going to be more. So if you're going to do that Sunday Night Football, that needs to be the market that you're chasing, right? If it's not, might not be good. So the example here, Big Bang Theory, 6.3 million TVs, $328,000 per 30 seconds. So about that ballpark. McDonald's meal contribution, 0.5 or 50 cents. 328,000 divided by 50 cents equals 656,000 meals to break even for that one commercial. Whew. But they're the place where they've sold like 1 trillion hamburgers or something. So that's probably that's what they did before noon. 6.3 million viewers are exposed. Thus, McDonald's needs 10.4% to purchase. So 656,000 divided by 6.3 million equals 10.4%. Is it reasonable? Maybe, maybe not. But again, I mean, 656,000 meals to break even. I seriously think they do that before noon in a few markets, right? Globally, piece of cake. So continuous regularity in ad exposure, occasional pop-up from time to time, seasonal, infrequent, and focus on the pre-term season for the product. School supplies in August, right? Everybody goes through that one. Discussion question number 2, when would you recommend advertising your school? Oil changes. So if you're recommending advertising in school, I would do probably 8 weeks out from the start of each term, if it's a traditional school, right? So the University of North Texas is one of my alma maters. They've got a traditional heavy fall enrollment and a traditional heavy spring enrollment. So I would say advertising should start in earnest probably late, mid-October. and then I would hammer hard until mid Christmas time to enthuse that spring enrollment, depending on when cutoffs are. For your fall term, I would back that up into like May, April, May, and I would hit hard talking about grads, recent grads. Oil changes, I would say constant, monthly, all the time, right? The choice of media outlet is difficult because there are more media outlets, more television stations, more radio stations, via XM especially, and the internet. Audiences are fragmented across the many media and use technology to zip past ads. You get onto YouTube, you want to look at something instructional, and it says you can skip this ad in 30 seconds. So, or 5 seconds or 6 seconds. So what they're doing is they're giving you, let's say it's a 6-second skip. They're giving you 6 seconds to grab my attention and divert me so powerfully that I continue to listen to the rest of your ad, right? Which media? Integrated marketing communication when advertising across media. Consider the company's overarching strategy. Ensure a consistent message. All communications, trade advertising, personal selling, direct marketing, product placements, as well as other marketing mix elements. So product design, pricing, and channels. Play to each media's strength, right? Media choices, relative strengths on business measures. So TV's pretty stout as far as their reach, relatively inexpensive. Radio, decent reach, cost is a little bit higher. Newspapers, limited reach, cost is definitely higher. They're trying to stay afloat. They should just figure out how to transform into something online. And then you've got direct mail, cost is really high, reach is really kind of high. I don't know. I always throw those away. The World Wide Web, the internets, the cost or it's super inexpensive. The reach is really high, frequency is really high, and you can target it. So that one's probably the most tailored. Media comparisons, TV ads, most expensive, yield the largest reach, yield abroad, not targeted reach. Cable allows some targeting, frequency is expensive. Magazines have broad appeal or can be targeted. Radio newspapers purchased nationally but can be purchased for local markets as well. Media comparisons. Billboards are relatively inexpensive, good for local coverage, right? Radio newspapers and magazines are less expensive than TV, but they also deliver to smaller audiences. Magazines require long lead times for production, have good reproduction quality though. So media comparisons, newspapers and magazines are non-intrusive. Viewers can just turn the page. Online direct mail can be customized. Online ads are inexpensive and can be targeted. Internet penetration isn't 100%. Direct mail is relatively inexpensive and targeted. Not efficient though. Junk mail. It usually never gets past my recycle bin. Media choices, relative strengths on ad content. Which media would you choose to advertise a new local restaurant and why? What should you consider to help guarantee an integrated approach? Personally, I would go after a internet influencer that's local. So someone that has, 10% or more of the marketplace. Hello everyone. Back here for Chapter 12. Now we're going to focus on beyond advertising. So personal selling is an essential communication vehicle. Period. End of story. Accounts for about 14 million jobs, over 10% of the workforce. So is especially important for expensive, complicated products. You've got to have personal salespeople. They are the front line in moving your product. Designing a sales force. Questions to consider. How many salespeople do I need? More with an aggressive launch or to protect territories, right? So if you've got a very aggressive launch, you've got to hit the ground running, actually hit the ground sprinting, then you're probably going to want more, right? Where do I deploy them? How do I compensate them? That's huge. When you think about it, years ago, my father told me about a company where the company was a startup. They were competing with big competitors. And the founder of the company, when he started doing compensation plans, he did this initial compensation plan, and he and his, half dozen sales guys were making a killing. And at one point in time, he looked at the numbers and said, well, if you guys keep going the way you're going, you'll actually out-earn me. Now, at that point in time, that gentleman didn't have to sell anymore. So you're going to make me more money than I've ever made, even working as the top sales dog for this company, in my own company, and you might actually out-earn me, but I have to do nothing but maintain the company in the meantime. Think about that. Is that smart? It's really not. So how do I compensate them when you're designing a sales force? That's huge. Compensation. You'll lose people over compensation more often than not, and it's silly, right? Salary and commission, proportion determined by tradition and competition. Advertising versus personal selling. So advertising, customers can be anywhere. Personal selling, you need kind of a geographic concentration. Product is simple to understand. Product is often technical and complicated in the personal selling. Advertising, again, product is fairly standard. And personal selling, product can be customized. Relatively inexpensive, less risky on the advertising side. High-priced B2B items on the personal selling side. Advertising can be expensive. Salesforce can be expensive. They both have their ups and downs. And results can be difficult to establish. Quick feedback on personal selling. Either you walk out with a contract or you don't, right? So very measurable results there. So the choice between advertising and a sales force really comes down to a lot of different factors. So, speaking of which, why do you think such a large proportion of the promotional budget is spent on trade promotion? When we look at the pie chart we've got 18% consumer promotion, 25% media advertising, and then 57% trade promotion. It's probably B2B, right? You don't have B2B necessarily being advertised at the Super Bowl. You have B2B in a lot of trade publications. Why? Because that's where the trades are. So, designing a sales force again, pull strategies, direct promotional efforts to consumers, rely on advertising and sales promotions. Push relies more on personal selling, direct promotional efforts to the channel, rely on trade allowances, price reductions to intermediaries for allocating space, etc. Maybe passed on to retailers, salespeople as cash, training and product demonstrations, free merchandise, conventions, etc. Public relations, purpose, provide information and build brand attributes. PR lines of communication are a company's attempt to reach its constituency. Customers, suppliers, stockholders, government, employees, general community. Convey a positive image and educate a constituency about the company. Generate goodwill on behalf of the company. So PR, when folks go, we don't need PR. Either they like us or they don't. If they don't, right, it's a 50-50 equation. If they don't like you, your PR is failing. That means you have to establish some good PR, right? And a lot of people come back and go, no, we don't need the PR. I promise you, you do. If the community at large thinks you're not awesome, your sales numbers will reflect it. Public relations, slide 2 of 3. PR people, they issue press kits, press releases for newsworthy occurrences, like a product launch, company information, bios, history. Maintain company information on website, right? Meet our team, meet the doctor, meet the whoever, meet the expert. Arrange events like speaking engagements, sponsorships, and community philanthropy. And you kind of got to get big before you can start doing that. We do a lot of donations, and that's our current community philanthropy approach, right? Publicity is a communication tool the company does not pay for. So PR can issue press releases, but there's no guarantee that they'll be picked up. Some people will because it's a PSA, public service announcement, and other outlets just will ignore it. Can be negative or positive because companies cannot directly control it and has the appearance of objectivity. You are objective there because it's just an announcement. Hey, we're doing this. The fact that in that objective announcement you also dogged your competitor just a touch, unlike other providers, our company has finally found a way to go green. That just really kind of put the diss on everybody else. Discussion question number 5. Give an example of negative publicity that you think the company handled well. Give an example of positive publicity and the potential benefits of this publicity. So, negative publicity that you think the company handled well. Kaepernick and Nike. A lot of people might see him as negative publicity, and Nike capitalized. I think Nike appeals to a vast number of outliers. Kaepernick happens to be an outlier, good or bad, and you can get all upset if you want to, but look at it from an unbiased perspective. Their stock went up. So if Kaepernick's so terrible, how did the stock price of Nike go up? So they took his negative publicity and hitched their train to it, or vice versa, right? I think they handled it well. It's not a bias one way or the other as to his belief structure and whether or not kneeling at the flag and the various anthems is correct or not. It's a matter of, did they get outliers? If you look at it and you distill his argument down, he's talking about critical thought process. Too many folks are out there being lemmings. A lot of people throughout history have done exactly what Kaepernick did. So think about it. Give an example of positive publicity and the potential benefits of this publicity. Nothing comes to mind recently. Positive publicity and the potential benefits of this publicity. Oh, KNBT just recently did a big music fest, and they published that every year they do a big musical festival, and they have all these artists come out. They sign the same guitar. Willie Nelson joins in. That's really the only big headliner that I know, and then a bunch of other folks within the Americana realm. And what's really cool about that is they've raised in the last 20-some-odd years millions of dollars to local charities. And every year what they do is they pick a charity based off of like I think it's a grant writing process. And they do such a good job at selling out Green Hall, the oldest dance hall in Texas. And all proceeds go to benefit whatever charity, KNBT, FM 92.1, and KGNB, I think that's AM 1420, they provide all the benefits or all the proceeds to the benefit that they've chosen. So that's positive publicity, and the potential benefits of that is it gets the entire community buzzing about the radio station. So when you get the opportunity, one of the first places that you tend to advertise is with the radio station, right? So products are integrated into movies, TV shows, and video games. Product placement, right? So back in the day, somebody would be having a close-up conversation and it'd be all dramatized and everybody's holding a Pepsi. It's product placement, right? More subtle than ads. James Bond's cars. Quick, which one is it, right? Aston Martin. Consumers can't zip past them. The product's there. Look at the Transporter movies with Jason Statham. Audis, right? BMW. Those are the cars that are being placed there. Look at the Transformers movies, right? I mean, the Bumblebee Camaro. How many of those are out there on the road today, right? So you can't just zip past it. That's product placement, plain and simple. I think the Marvel show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they'll drive Audis, right? Tony Stark, Audi. Product placement, all over it. So event sponsorship occurs in sports and cultural or artistic endeavors. Brands draw from events, positive valence, and energy, sponsoring NASCAR racing. I know Tito's Vodka is one of the sponsored drink guys at the Circuit of the Americas. So not clear if it is cost effective, but it gets your name constantly. Those are the big ones usually, right? They're sponsoring something. The AT&T Center. Well, that's where the Spurs play, right? If AT&T doesn't continue to help out with the cost of that particular arena, then it could be the Sprint T-Mobile Center, right? So that's a sponsorship. Is it cost effective? Who knows? Does it make it seem to the community at large that AT&T has this monster presence? Sure does. So it helps with their credibility. It's kind of that PR stuff again, right? So sales promotion, activate purchase interest and influence short-term sales, can entice customers to switch brands. Forms are coupons, rebates, promotional pricing, trade-ins, loyalty programs, trials, contests, etc. We run contests pretty regularly, like our post, share our post, get so many drawing entries into the drawing, we'll give you a free year of tanning or sauna or massage or something like that. So IMC choices depend on goals, right? So when determining which promotional method to choose, consider the target audience, the company's goals, awareness, information, preferences, purchase trial, and repeat purchases. Back in the day, the actor Wilfred Brimley, I might have the name wrong, He was an older gentleman. He was always typecast in a lot of shows as the older grandfatherly individual. He was a spokesperson for kind of the Diabetes Association, because back in the day, diabetes or type 2 diabetes was adult onset diabetes, right? Type 2. Now we just call it type 2 because we've got children younger and younger that are developing type 2 diabetes. But back in the day, good 30 years ago, it was called adult onset. So it was usually older adults who had abused their bodies up to a certain point, and their body can only take so much, and sooner or later the pancreas just says, hey, I'm out. So they had a gentleman, knowing the target audience is older, they had the grandfatherly guy come out. He was totally typecast. I bet he made a killing on that one. He was the guy, he was a spokesman, right? So, and he even pronounced diabetes, right? So I don't know what the correct pronunciation is there. I think both work. So what's your target audience? What's your company's goals? Awareness, information, preferences, purchase trial, and repeat purchase. You got Grandpa over here talking about how these people are going to take such great care of you. They nailed their target audience in that particular ad, right? So additional questions to consider. Should we schedule continuously, occasionally, or seasonally? What is the customer's purchase cycle? What is the level of saturation desired? What life cycle stage is the product in? What can we afford? What is best for our target? What do we want the target to know? Lots going in on that one. So the IMC schedule, January, February, March, April, May, June. When we look at all that, January, February's got very little. March, brand promotions, magazines, ads online, nothing in April. Then in May, we hit the company ads, target segment, cable TV. June, nothing. July, nothing. August, we break out the back to school online deals. September, attitude brand ads via local radio sports, refer a friend. October, top of mind ad. 3 TV ads say go online for more info. November, spur purchase, events, parade float, 3 ads during college football games. So we're really pushing the advertising there. December, pre-Christmas, 3 local TV ads and paper inserts, post-holiday, deep discount. It is currently mid-November. I just talked to my advertising person at the radio station. We're going to start building out our New Year's resolution, and I've got a hit next week with a tan-free for December on all EFT, electronic funds transfer memberships. So first month free, basically. So first month free, tan-free for the entire month of December, mostly because I want to hit January with a real heavy EFT drop, right? So we want to boost those numbers a little bit so we hit the new year with a little bit more extra cash. Assessing media effectiveness. If goal is awareness, reach matters, right? Measure viewership, readership, circulation numbers, traffic indices. How many people spend how many times? We get 70,000 to hit our landing page. The next question is, how many click through? Because if they're just on there for 5 seconds, it better be an awesome ad. If the goal is attitudinal, surveys. It can be difficult to assess the return on media investment, right? Because customers may not remember where they saw the ad. So what channel was it on? Considerations. Increase ad budget relative to competition. Doesn't increase sales in general. Qualitative differences such as better ad copy can increase the likelihood of sales. And ads that evoke positive feelings have been related to sales. We tried going to more of a Zen look. We were originally established as a tanning salon. Cool Tan was the name of the business. Then it was Cool Tan Wellness. And we've really focused very heavily on the wellness. We need to bulk back up on the tanning side of things. We've won Best Tanning as far as the local competitions are concerned. And what we found is when we did our ads on social media that were all zenned out, be wellness, lower the day's pressures, recuperate, revive. Sales went down 25%. So ads that evoke positive feelings have been related to sales. So I thought those were evoking positive feelings, as opposed to the girl in the bikini or the guy with the ripped abs in the board shorts. Everybody's half naked on the pictures. They're all standing at the beach. There's no sand here. But the moment we put those ads back in, sales went back up. So that's the positive feels they've got to have for the tanning side of things, right? Some believe that ad budgets should not be spent on current customers who already prefer the brand. No, reinforce that. It's easier to keep those people. So online advertising, track click-through rates, right? We just talked about that. Downloads, inquiries, purchases, returns, etc. If my Facebook message box is overflowing, we've done a good job. Compare with cost per click, per download, per acquisition, etc. Online ad cost is low, but effectiveness is not necessarily great. So discussion questions number 6. If you are recruiting for the Army with the Be All You Can Be message, which media would you choose? When would you schedule the ads? How would you measure effectiveness? I would think anything physical that has a younger audience on YouTube, Be All You Can Be, right? Right before a CrossFit demonstration video or some other fitness video, I would have the Army guys go plowing through whatever they're plowing through on some sort of obstacle course or out in the field doing something rigorous and, tough looking. And when would you schedule the ads? When is that segment of the population open? When are they up? When are they after those things? So that's when you'd have to do it. And how would you measure effectiveness? Well, do specific markets. Hammer specific geographical, geofenced markets and see, did we have a 15% increase in recruitment, stop buys? And then if we're not closing still, look at the recruiters. Are they selling? Personal selling, right? Remember that. Beyond advertising, what other promotional methods might be effective? I would think sponsoring a Be All You Can Be challenge, right? I think those are cool. How many push-ups? And then you bring your best dude out there, the cat that knocks out 90 push-ups in 60 seconds, and be like, if you can beat him, then you're all you can be, or you're more than all you can be. But, go where there's crowds. Circuit of the Americas, drinking festivals. I would go for those and have a strength thing going on, some sort of strength demonstration, and invite people to come play with you, right? That would get people out there more physically because the Army is kind of physical. Makes sense, right? And show folks the benefits. Managerial recap. Decisions about expenditure and timing are integral to promotional campaigns. Marketers must integrate marketing communications, right? The effectiveness of advertising is measured using long and short-term measures. Remember that. Long and short-term. You might see a slight uptick, but you got to keep the pressure on because you've got to be in mind. That's what advertising does. It keeps you in mind when the person finally does need what you're selling. All right, folks, that's all we got for this particular chapter. See you next time.